What's up, fellas? Today we're talking about Arkham City. After a brief opening where you play as Catwoman, Arkham City begins with Bruce Wayne protesting, well, Arkham City, before he gets nabbed and thrown in there himself by Doctor Strange. No, not that one. There you go. After a little opening sequence where you're introduced to Penguin and you climb the Ace Chemicals building, you get suited up and you're ready to really dive into Arkham City. Arkham City is the game's namesake and the newest wacky shit that's going on in Gotham. It's basically a big mega prison made up of part of Gotham City that was sectioned off, with all of Gotham's worst just thrown in there with pretty minimal regulation. The idea of a prison city is really neat and works perfectly into the world of Batman. It's around here that Hugo Strange starts counting down to this thing he calls Protocol 10. You're gonna hear this term a lot in this game, and you certainly won't forget it. Over the course of the game, Strange will continue to count down the hours towards this ominous looming threat that is Protocol 10. It's a great way to keep you in suspense throughout the adventure, you know? Dangling that little chicken nugget over the player's head is a good way to keep them invested in the story. The first thing you may notice after assuming control of Batman is how much smoother the game feels to play. The combat is more or less the same as the first game, but it just feels so much more fluid this time around. It's a lot more fun to play in spite of how little it's changed, and focus mode always makes your combos way more exciting, no matter how much I suck at keeping it. Batman's also way more nimble in combat, leaping insane distances from one goon to the next. Movement as a whole feels a lot better this time around, especially when exploring Arkham City. Batman felt kind of stiff in Arkham Asylum, and this game does a lot to correct that. You can tell they put a lot of effort into getting the feeling of gliding around just right. Grappling's a little jerkier than it could have been though. So you go to the courtroom to save Catwoman from Two-Face. One thing that stuck out in this scene in particular is how schlocky the dialogue is.
Two guns, bitch!
It's like everyone's wrestling to get a one-liner in.
And I thought it was cats who have 9 lives.
Overruled.
Alright, shut up! This had me real worried, thinking that the rest of the game was gonna be like this. But fortunately, the dialogue's never as bad as it is in the courthouse.
Who's going to win? Not him.
Most of the time. After getting beamed in the head at the steel mill, you get to play as Catwoman and show them that the ladies can do it just as good as the Batmen. Unknown to me when I first played this game back in like 2012, the Catwoman stuff is actually kinda DLC, but also not really. Apparently, it came as a free code with the game if you bought it new, but anyone who tried to buy it used had to pay an extra $10 if they wanted to play the Catwoman stuff. I don't know, I got it during a Steam sale. It seems kinda needlessly convoluted, but I'm sure the only reason they did it like that was to stop GameStop from undercutting them by selling used copies. Catwoman's gameplay is pretty similar to Batman's. She's faster in combat, but also a lot more fragile. Her overworld movement was a clear afterthought, and pouncing around on buildings to these little quick-time events is way less fun than grappling and gliding as Batman. It's clear that Batman's movement options were designed first, and Catwoman's were much lower priority, which makes sense, since, you know, you'll be controlling Batman for like 90% of the playtime. Batman wakes up from nap time, and the rumors that have been going around Arkham City are confirmed. Joker is in fact dying, and he's pumped Batman full of his tainted blood, so now they're both dying. Now there's 2 chicken nuggets they're dangling by a string over your fat little head. On top of the countdown to Protocol 10, there's also a countdown to Batman fucking dies. You better find a cure for that, stupid. So you go to Mr. Freeze, except Mr. Freeze is locked up in a museum while Penguin plays with his comically oversized gun. I really like how Penguin's portrayed in this game. Oswald Cobblepot to me has always been at his core a thug that desperately wants to fit into high society. He can't just be content as a mob boss like Falcone, he wants to be more, but he'll always just be Penguin. And I think replacing his traditional monocle with a glass bottle embedded into his fucking face is a really effective way of showing that. A dirty, broken piece of garbage that's a pathetic mimicry of that monocle, that symbol of the elite, and it's so deeply embedded within him that he can't ever remove it. It's a deeply tragic take on the character that, oh my god, is that Solomon Grundy? So Freeze tells you that you need super special Giga Chad blood in order to make a cure. Blood that could only be pumping through the throbbing veins of the man himself, Ra's al Ghul. So it's pretty convenient that this ninja who's part of the League of Shadows leads you right to him, huh? Batman almost actually dies for real, but Ra's al Ghul gives him a chalice of his bodily fluids that'll keep Bruce alive for a few more hours, but only if he does his cool parkour challenges. After delivering a right mollywhopping to the demon's head, you head back to Freeze with his juices. Of course, Freeze turns on you right after making your cure. Mr. Freeze is the best boss fight in the game. Most Arkham bosses play out like Zelda bosses, where you figure out their weakness and then just repeat the same sequence of events a few times to beat them. But Freeze actually wises up to your tricks, and won't fall for the same thing twice, so you're constantly finding new ways to hurt him. After cracking him open like an egg, you find out Harley Quinn stole the cure. So it's back to the steel mill, where Joker grabs Talia al Ghul as Batman gets flattened by a bunch of rubble. It's another Catwoman segment, where you bust into Strange's vault and steal big money. But Catwoman is faced with the moral dilemma of saving Batman or becoming filthy rich. She says fuck Batman and walks right the hell out of there. That's it. The game's over. But her conscience gets the better of her and Catwoman rewinds time to save Batman. Remember that little thing, Protocol 10? Well, it's happening now. Hugo Strange's master plan was to round up all of Gotham's most rotten criminals all into one place and then just fire missiles at them until they all died. Honestly, not a bad plan. He would have gotten away with it too. His only mistake was getting Batman involved. So Batman climbs a big ass tower to get to Strange and beats the snot out of him. But it turns out that Strange was working for Ra's al Ghul all along, the true puppet master behind the scenes. They both explode and die. So Batman goes off to save Talia from Joker and get the cure, and ends up at a movie theater. Talia kills Joker. Wait, no, Joker kills Talia. Boom, big twist. Joker was actually Clayface all along. Well, not always, but sometimes. A crazy fight breaks out, and you toss Clayface into a goddamn Lazarus pit. Batman is cured. And then...
Are you happy now? Do you want to know something funny? Even after everything you've done, I would have saved you.
That actually is pretty funny.
Damn, what an ending. I can't think of a more poignant note to end on. Catwoman, this little epilogue they tacked on is utterly pointless and only serves to undercut that powerful ending. Frankly, the Catwoman sections in general feel kinda pointless. I don't hate them, but I wouldn't mind a way to skip or disable them altogether. They don't add much value to the experience. And usually when I'm playing a Catwoman, I wish I were just playing as Batman instead. After that, you're free to explore Arkham City, hunt down Riddler trophies, and do any side missions you might have missed. In Arkham Asylum, most of the Riddler trophies were tucked away for you to find. And while there's still plenty like that in Arkham City, the majority of them are usually pretty clearly in the open, but have you do a little puzzle to get to. I think this not only makes collecting them more enjoyable, but it's also more in line with the theming of the character. It just makes sense as content would be more puzzle focused. Out of all the side missions, the Riddler stuff was by far the most fun and interesting. All his little Saw death trap rooms have you using your entire arsenal of gadgets to solve them. My favorite was the old Switcheroo Cup game you solved using detective vision. One of the most notable changes from Arkham Asylum to Arkham City is the big aesthetic shift. Arkham Asylum still had a pretty realistic art style, but it also has this almost comic book-like feel to it. It felt pretty firmly rooted in the Batman comics. But Arkham City really broke away from that. The art direction pivoted to a more gritty, realistic look, and the story went completely off in its own direction, for the better. And while I'm a huge fan of Arkham Asylum's atmosphere, it was Arkham City that really ensured that the series would carve out a name for itself in Batman history. This is the game where the Arkham series really came into itself. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more. And stay tuned for next time when we cover Arkham Origins. Ooh.